Welcome to the Daily Beast podcast. I'm Joanna, Chief Content Officer of the Daily Beast.
And I am Samantha Bee, Chief Content Officer of Jill Stein's political endorsements, which I now believe include David Duke. So congrats to the team on that.
Winning team.
Oh.
Winning team. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a customer service experience where everything just works? It feels like we've reached a point where every customer experience should feel that seamless. And you're in luck, because Five9 is changing the entire way customer experiences work. They use AI to create smarter, more informed interactions, so you can get your problems handled in a way that's more human. Five9 creates intelligent customer experiences so everything feels personalized. That's just one small part of what their tech can do. It's already changing the game for companies from Under Armour to Alaska Airlines, and you can learn more about next-level intelligent CX at five9.com/beast. Every Thursday, we're inviting you to the best dinner party where we'll plunder the Daily Beast newsroom and talk about the people and the stories of the week. And we invite interesting guests too, like this week's guest. We're talking to the Beast of the Week, John Oliver. You know John from HBO's Last Week Tonight and The Daily Show, and you'll hear how John 10 years ago taught me how to swear really effectively, and how he and Sam spent much of their time on The Daily Show trying not to get arrested. And in the download, we're going to talk all about Chris LaCivita, the Trump aide who has already earned $22 million while trying to get his boss elected. And joining us for that conversation is investigative reporter and endless award winner Michael Isikoff, who broke the story for The Beast.
And we're going to talk about what we are obsessed with. For me, it is my escape plan to Point Nemo. And for Joanna, it is Kanye's interesting choice in who he one day hopes to sleep with. But first, we have to catch up with each other.
Yes, tell me everything.
Oh boy, okay. So my show, How to Survive Menopause, premieres this week at the Minetta Lane Theater. I think it's mostly sold out, which is great.
It's totally sold out because I tried to bring 2 extra people
and
there were no tickets left, so congrats on that.
Thank you so much. That's good news for me. I wonder why I'm so calm. I shouldn't be. I should be. I'm suspicious of my own calmness going into it, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm excited to say all this stuff out loud.
So it's 2.5 hours of you talking about menopause?
Yeah, just like 2.5 to 7 hours.
Excellent.
Just
the longer the better.
Pure vulva. Did you know that I went to see the Pure vulva?
Pure vulva. I'm okay. Keep going.
I was going to change the subject because I could see in your eyes that you wanted me to. And so...
No, I don't. I want you to keep going. I want you to keep going.
No, I'm so excited to do this. I'm so excited to do this show. I'm excited to do it into your eyes. I hope you're sitting in the front row.
I'm going to sit center, front,
okay.
Eyes on you.
Eyes. Eyeballs.
Eyes on you, yeah. And
I
heard that you had a sign that you were doing the right thing.
I did. I actually went for a stroll, and this is so actually wild. I went for a stroll this weekend, about like a 4.5 mile hike, let's say, in the woods near my place, out in the countryside, walking along, just thinking, universe, give me a sign that I'm right, that I'm on the correct path in life. And you cannot believe what I found. I looked down, and there was an anatomically correct, and I'm not even joking, an eggplant-sized, anatomically correct vagina sex toy that someone had been using, I guess, in their car and threw it out the window for me to find. And I said, you know what?
They threw it out of the window?
Yes. But the point for me is that the Lord works in mysterious ways.
So he was saying, I want a show about plastic vaginas.
He was saying, keep talking about vulvas, mama. Get it done. It was
I just can't even imagine what it looks like.
So my husband asked me, he was like, well, did you pick it up? And I was like,
That's such a male question. That's such. Did you pick it up?
Did you pick it up?
Of course he would think that.
What did you do with it?
Because a man would pick up a used sex toy.
It has an aperture. It was covered in filth.
He might want to use it again. He might pick it up for spare.
Oh, God. It could not be boiled to safety. There's nothing you could do with it. Anyway, it's good news because then I felt like, okay, Okay. Thank you, universe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Just what I
on the
needed.
right. You're on the right path.
On the right path.
Okay.
No,
Well, that's impressive.
thank you. What have you been up to?
Well, since I saw you, which was when, I've no memory of
Yep.
it, I was shot out of a cannon, sort of, which was going on, which I know you're going on too. Have I got news for you?
Yes, I'm going on as well. Oh, that is so fun. Did you enjoy it?
I loved it. So they tape it. So it's CNN's new news comedy show. It's based on a British comedy show, which I loved when I lived in Britain. It's now in its 68th season there. I think it's one of the longest running shows with the original 2 team captains. And they tape it for 2 hours. It's Roy Wood Jr. As the host, who was brilliant.
He's wonderful.
Well, and you would know him from The Daily Show.
Yeah, he's great. He's
I
so
couldn't
funny.
believe how funny he was. And then I was on Michael Ian Black's team.
Great.
And John Hodgman was the other guest on
boy.
with Amber Ruffin.
I love everybody whose names you just said.
Yeah. It was like, I was the odd woman out, obviously, because I'm the straight person with a load of really professional comedians. But by the end of the 2 hours, my face was aching and my stomach was aching from having laughed so much. Not at what I said, at what they said.
And I hope that there's a gift bag because I'm doing it on November 15th.
No gift bag.
Oh my God, what? Maybe they'll have that in in full effect by the time I get there.
There were some dried snacks.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like one of those Nature's Harvest bars. And there was some sort of gummy things. And I thought, they need... You know the thing that... There used to be fabulous green rooms with fresh fruit and charcuterie and little cheese board.
Yes.
All of that has gone now.
All of that. COVID ruined everything.
Ruined everything. Nobody can afford it. But I had an absolute blast.
Fantastic.
And what's fun is you can see it on Max. It lives on Max if you don't catch it live.
Okay. Well, I'm going to watch you, and then you can watch me, and we will talk about each other's
I wonder
outfits.
whose team you'll be on. I bet you'll be on Michael Ian's team because he does because they like woman man.
Oh, I see. Okay, well, I will happily be on either team, and I expect to have a very good time. And I will bring snacks if that is what is
take
required.
your own snacks.
I'll
Take
bring
your
my
own
own.
snacks. Yeah,
Yep.
they also give you Red Bull because it's quite a. It's doing 2 hours when you're on, and there's a studio audience is a long time. And halfway through, I drank a Red Bull, and my jokes got so much better.
A Red Bull is a real flex to give to a guest.
Yep.
Okay.
So let's get into what we're obsessed with: the stories and the people of the week.
Okay. Well, I am obsessed with Point Nemo, which I had never heard about before this very week. But I read an article about it in The Atlantic by Cullen Murphy.
I want to confess I've never heard of it and I don't know where it is.
It is the oceanic point of inaccessibility, all right? Which means that it is the place in the ocean that is farthest from land.
Right.
It is in the South Pacific Ocean, and it is so remote that sometimes the closest human beings are the astronauts in the International Space Station.
Okay, that's insane.
Oh, I could not get enough of this article. I highly recommend it. Depending on what happens in the election, you may be able to find me there on November 6th. I'll be living on a raft of microplastics.
You have to, if the worst comes to the worst, I know what you're saying, you have to stay. You can't leave the country that you've become a citizen of.
Sorry, I'll be sailing away. Oh no, so much happened in the country. I also have to tell you about my neighbor in the country who I think booby-trapped his Trump Vance sign.
Why do you, because do you keep stealing it?
Oh, no, well, okay. So in 2020, he put up signs and everyone would rip them down. So you would walk past my little country road and his Trump sign would be ripped in half or torn down. And then you would see him out there just balefully tapping a nail into it to try to preserve it. And now this year it is perched in a mound of fresh dirt. Like it's almost like there's a body buried underneath with some leaves scattered over top. And then this just like these little thin sticks holding up this very gently, gingerly placed Trump Vance sign. And we're afraid to touch it.
In case it's electrocuted.
Well, I think there's probably a camera on it or maybe, maybe some electrical wiring. We were thinking maybe a bear trap.
Oh, right.
mean?
So you should stay away.
Some type of snare.
You've just got to stop stealing his sign.
I've just got to stop ripping them, but oh, I'm so tempted. So tempted.
Well, the other thing is you could do it and you could film yourself doing it so that if anything happens to you, at least there will be an electronic record.
That's good. I'll be satisfied with that. Okay, tell me what you're obsessed with.
Well, or you should make sure that he has free tickets to the menopause show.
Well, obviously he'll be in the front row with you.
Yeah, I will sit next to him and say, let's hear all about Sam's vulva.
Let's hold hands.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing for neighbours to know about. All right, so the only thing I'm obsessed by this week, well, I'm always obsessed by many things. I was slightly obsessed by Kanye saying that he wanted to sleep with his mother-in-law, Bianca's mother, only because it triggered a very tabloid memory of living in Britain when there was a government minister called Alan Clark who lived in a huge castle and his family had made their money by inventing paisley. You know that? The paisley fabric with those kind of swirly things that we all have dressing gowns in. English people are basically born in paisley and we have to wear it until the age of 10.
They look like a bacteria that you would see under a microscope.
Exactly, like in a petri dish.
Yes.
Anyway, he not only slept with his girlfriend and her daughter, but also her sister. They were all South Africans. And when his wife said famously in Britain, it became a sort of catchphrase, well, if you bed people below stairs, they will go to the press. So that was his wife's response.
People below stairs?
Below stairs. Oh. But the husband of the woman he'd been sleeping with and the father of the two daughters got on a plane from South Africa, came to London and said he was planning to horsewhip Alan Clark.
Okay.
Whereupon Alan Clark disappeared into one of the many rooms in his castle. And it just became this insane story that I thought was not unlikely to happen to Kanye because he just seems to attract chaos at this point.
Is he still rattling around in that giant castle?
No, he died.
Okay.
He died.
Well, he still might be in the castle, though.
He might still be in the castle, you're right.
Yeah. He could be. Well, you'll have to ask John Oliver about that.
Oh, yes, we could. Or it might turn out to be under the grave of your neighbour. Under the Trump sign.
Oh, there he is.
You see how we tie it all together?
We do.
We're just absurd strings of content.
He's giving back. He's feeding the earth.
So it's now time to introduce our beast of the week, none other than John Oliver. The brilliant comedian, writer and political commentator has redefined Sunday nights. Born in my homeland, John rose to prominence on The Daily Show with Sam and Jon Stewart before launching his own show last week tonight, where he blends biting satire with real investigative reporting. He's won multiple Emmys. We're not going to mention that because I don't want it to go to his head. But his show is essential viewing, and I laugh every time I talk to John. So take it away, Sam.
We are in the room together, and this interview has already gone off the rails. Joanna can't handle her technology. Everybody's swearing. Let us begin.
And I just want to say that John Oliver taught me to use the word fuck with enormous efficacy, I would say.
Oh, sure. That's right. I think you deep down knew how to use the word fuck. Yes, I think I've encouraged you.
It was always in you.
To the way you've been brought up. It's in there. The skills were in there. You were born with them.
Okay, how do you two know each other? Do you only know each other because there's a club of British expats that you have to join, like it's a requirement, or do you know each other? Tell me everything.
All British people know each other.
Yeah, there's not many of us. So you
Fair.
kind of, especially if there's British people overseas. Historically, less of us than there used to be centuries ago. You know, we really travelled to a fault.
You just all congregate at Tea and Sympathy together?
Yes, and slightly less power than we used to have.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. For now. Don't rule us out. Don't rule out the greatest comeback of all time.
It would be the greatest comeback of all time. So John, here's my question. I want to take you back to England and I want your memories of growing up in Britain. Can you remember anything about it?
Do you know what? It was, my kids have just started watching Junior Bake Off on Netflix. It's the British kids on. I find it incredibly difficult to watch because they're so stressed, those kids. And they're so negative about their baking. My kids can't understand why you would behave this way. My eldest son is 8. This morning, before he left to school, he said, I got an impression I got an impression. I went, okay, what's this going to be? Is this going to be a Star Wars thing? He went, who's this? He went, oh, my cake's not working. Oh, no, I can't do it. I need more time. My icing's gone wrong. It's bad. I went, oh, no. So that is a roundabout way to say that I think I'm witnessing some of my childhood right now in the Junior Bake Off, and it's British kids with absolutely no self-confidence.
You know what? I share that as a Canadian, but without the cute accent. And I'm jealous. So it sounds so much better when you say it.
So you two came out of the school of Jon Stewart. It's astonishing how many people came out of that school. Colbert, Jason Jones, Rob Corddry, Larry Wilmore. You guys both got your own shows. What was so special about Jon Stewart and that time? How did he produce all that?
Sam, what would you say?
Jolliver. I don't know. I just think it was like a great training ground. I mean, my God, it was like going to college. Just really intense day after day, month after month college. And you went to all these just cripplingly terrible interviews. You would get on a plane and go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota and spend 3 days interviewing someone who hates you.
Yeah. You learn by your mistakes, and you in an environment where it moves so fast, right? You couldn't kind of linger in your failures much. You just had to get on with it. And I think that was probably a really good way to get your learning curve up fast. And so if you're willing to really throw yourself at it, and it really could be difficult at times, there was almost no way not to be better like a year later than you'd been the year before.
I think it forged our POVs in the fire. And also, as I look back, I think, oh, you know what? Jon actually, as a person, has a spectacular work ethic. He kind of works harder than anybody. And seeing that, kind of just seeing him lead by example was a really great kind of high level of mentorship as well. And also, we're just really special. We're just really special people.
That's right.
And that
also, you're really special.
Absolutely amazing to leave Steve Carell off that list, Joanna, as well. That's just absolutely spectacular. Not just not to lead with him, but to leave him out altogether is just absolutely mind-blowing.
Altogether. A lot of people were left off that list. And if they heard this, they would be really pissed off. And they're definitely going to text us later.
Okay, well, I think we should let them know they've been left off, because that's the English way, right? The English way is just to ignore things.
Exactly. It's just such precise passive aggression.
All right, so Jon, you grew up in a country, we share this in common, where we were just so depressed as children because you have no confidence, and you realised, do you think it was actually a bigger thing that Britain itself was just losing influence, and so everybody just sort of gave up?
The time that we were growing up, we weren't losing influence. It had gone.
Okay, it had gone.
I think more about it now, actually, in terms of the timeline of when we were growing up, because also growing up in a country reeling from the Second World War, my parents had experienced that as children. So it was a pretty grim time. Before Europe opened up, it was definitely a Britain of Mike Leigh films, right? Not
actually Richard Curtis films.
Not Richard Curtis films. I don't know. I think Richard Curtis might have lived Richard Curtis films. I've only lived that life through watching them.
Yeah, but we lived in Mike Leigh films and Barry Hines films, actually. Kes. There was this movie called Kes, which was about a little boy that his only friend was a kestrel.
Oh, God.
Yeah. I remember there's a poem in that. I remember Pig, Sow, Drunken Bastard. Pig, Sow, Drunken Bastard. Because I think it was thrilling to read when you read Kes. I also read that book, that you could read swear words. That was so grim.
So grim. So I don't think people because people go, oh, I don't know how you could have left England to live in America. I love London. You have no idea what it was like growing up in the north. It was depressing. There were brownouts and blackouts from miners' strikes.
Yeah.
It was, and you're right, Europe hadn't opened up, and at least
that's a big deal.
Everybody in Yorkshire viewed Europe as the enemy. They viewed French as having been weak because the Germans had overrun them during the Second World War.
Not untrue.
not untrue. And they viewed Germany as the enemy still.
Yeah, and also, Sam, if you're wondering, did that one bird who was his friend live a long, happy life in that story? No.
Impossible. No. Well, I guess this is canceling out my next question. How much do you love the royal family? And how many tea sets with their faces do you use every... Oh my gosh. This is so sad.
You get how I mean, you get how offensive that question is, right, Sam?
No,
I've seen you deliver versions of that question to like thousands of people's faces.
The Castrol is dead, and everything is mud.
Yeah. What was the question? How many? Am I a fan of the royal family? Not in any shape or form. No. That feels like a vestigial tale that should have fallen off long ago.
My God.
Have you watched either of the shows about Prince Andrew and his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
There's one on Amazon and there's one on Netflix.
No, I watched the third one, the Newsnight interview. Right.
Oh, yeah, they're both based on that.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I haven't. It felt to me, I watched the Newsnight interview and thought, yeah, I think I think we all know where we are here.
Yeah, it was just incredible. Well, Michael Sheen does a very good job of an impetuous, childish Prince Andrew. Like, what happens to the royal family?
I have absolutely no idea. I think it'll probably be, in times gone by, what happened to royal families with the French in particular could be pretty spectacular. There was a severance of the royal family physically as well as emotionally. But I think they'll just become more and more ornamental, more than they already are. I think it's pretty clear they serve no practical function. It's a tourism magnet, I think. You can see that whenever there's royal weddings now and they interview people, you see GMA interviewing people down the line the street. There's a lot of American accents in there. Yeah. It does feel like it's the rest of the world turning up to say, we want to go and see this thing you do. And British people are generally just drunk in the streets, having street parties, which sure are wedding adjacent, but it's also an excuse to day drink.
Well, at least everything's going really smoothly here now that we've all emigrated from our native lands. Any regrets about becoming an American citizen?
Joanna, are you a citizen now?
I am a citizen.
Yeah. When was yours?
I want to say sort of 10, 15 years ago. At the time I was editing Marie Claire and they had this full American day for me. And I came back from the ceremony, which was very moving. And who should be in the office? Everybody had bunting, American flags in the office. But the most American person they could find, who was Jessica Simpson at the time. Jessica Simpson was there in a star-spangled outfit. With cartons of barbecue, and we all had amazing amounts of barbecue. Jessica Simpson just said, "Welcome to being an American," and we ate lots of cupcakes.
I can't believe this.
Yeah, it was just welcome to America.
That's the ultimate welcome.
It was spectacular.
That's the goddamn dream.
Yep, it was a dream. It was a dream.
Every immigrant, having gone through the hell of the US immigration process, should get Jessica Simpson in a star-spangled bodysuit serving them barbecue.
It was amazing. So when did you become an American?
I became an American at the end of 2019. But I remember my version of that was when I first got my green card. I was so stressed. I was having to re-up my visa every year. Jill Katz and Pam DePace at the Daily Show office brought it into me with like a single flag in a piece of apple pie.
Oh.
And I nearly cried. I think they thought, oh, this is a joke. And I don't think they understood how stressed I'd been about this. So I wasn't able to make a joke out of the thing. I couldn't believe I was holding this thing, which meant that I wasn't having to pack up everything once a year, go back to London, go to the US Embassy, beg to be let back in with no guarantee that was going to happen.
That would have been a stressful time to be receiving a green card and to be naturalized too. With it, were you naturalized during the Trump administration?
Yes. So it was at the end of 2019, just before COVID hit. So the problem was I couldn't get to you. I didn't believe it. Right. I kept waiting for this weight of relief to come off my shoulders, but I couldn't use my passport. And it didn't feel like, until I knew I could walk through US customs with a passport, I didn't really believe it had happened. So actually I didn't get to leave the country. I voted before I left the country. When I voted and it said your vote has been counted, that was the moment for me. I thought, holy shit, it's real. But that was a year later.
Wow.
Yeah, it's strangely stressful. I remember sitting waiting for three weeks in London, and I called the visa office every day, and I was like, "Is it there? Is it there?" And they're like,
it's
"No,
brutal.
not yet." It's so stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weirdly stressful.
But it gets worse as the longer it goes on, right? Because I think we probably all know this. Like when you start building a life in a country that you're not legally guaranteed to live in, the more you build that life, the more precarious it feels because you know it could get taken away from you at any second.
Well, and also when your children are a different nationality I mean, I was conscious I had American children because they were born here, but we were not the same nationality. I found that very stressful, especially after 9/11, actually. So we've all taken citizenship. What do you think of America now?
You mean how it's doing out of 10?
Yes.
I'm going to hold off on scoring it for 3.5 weeks. I don't think it's possible to know how America's doing right now. I think we're about to find out how.
I think you should extend that and take it all the way to inauguration, because I'm just not sure that you're going to have a resolution to that question.
Oh man, that's a really strong point. That's right. You kind of got to get past. Is it January? Somewhere around January the 5th,
January
maybe
20th.
just after that.
January 20th. Oh, January the 6th. Yes. Okay. So how do you feel Kamala is doing?
It's very, very hard to say. I don't really have any idea. It's the polls are incredibly close.
Do you read them? Do you get up in the morning? Do you doom scroll the way that I do? Oh, you don't?
There's not much point. It's clearly there were most of the big swing states were within the margin of error, so there's not much you can read into them other than this is going to be incredibly close. To the extent that it kind of always is, it's just it feels hard to get your head around how it can be close this time, given what happened last time.
Can I ask, how are you planning the next week's shows? Like, how much are you giving attention to what's happening now? How much are you creating? I mean, you're always you are always having evergreen segments kind of like percolating. How much are you pivoting to it in the weeks leading up to it?
Last week, we were trying to take a long look at the attempts at election subversion because it felt like it was worth trying to get all of that into one place. The extent to which all the claims of non-citizens voting are absolute horseshit. It felt useful to show how nonsense it is, as well as just tell people it's nonsense, to really kind of trying to forensically work through exactly how much that is built on a total lie. So there's a couple more things like that we're working on in run up to the election, where it feels like trying to meet the biggest lies at face value and pull them apart. So that's kind of what we're planning in the run up to the election. What we'll do afterwards, I think, will depend on how that goes.
Right. I remember when I was doing my own show that we were like, we should have a cake, because we kind of aired midweek. And so we had to be like a little bit responsive. And we were like, let's get a cake made. And one half of the cake will be like a celebratory half. And then we'll have the opposite side, which will be the upside down world of the cake, with like a demon hanging off of it and like melting the cake from within. Just in case. You kind of have to plan for everything.
It's tricky because you're on Wednesdays, right? So you would think that you would know enough by then. I'm not sure, like you were pushing it back then. I'm not sure that will be the case now. I don't think we're not going to know unless there's an absolute landslide on Tuesday night. It might well be, especially if Georgia goes into litigation, that we'll be struggling to know on Sunday or on Saturday when we tape who's actually won.
You're going to have to get your own goblin cake.
I want it delivered by a terrified looking Jessica Simpson.
Oh, God, yes. That Star Spangled Bikini has been through some shit.
So do we think that we may not know for some days or even possibly some weeks?
Yeah.
Because it does feel like the Republicans are getting in, all sorts of structures to contest the election if the Democrats win.
It's not even just I think the counting alone, like Pennsylvania is going to take longer just because they're not allowing, as they haven't before, like any opening of the ballots to be smoothed out. So it will get pushed back. Georgia really could take a long time if they're allowed to do any of the things that the new law passed last month has suggested that they're going to be allowed to do, in terms of having hand recounts of precincts and demanding the exact same total from 3 people. everything could well get pushed back. I would be really surprised if we know Tuesday night.
Yeah. And everybody's been really deeply practicing getting further radicalized since January 6th. Everybody's doing a really good job of just like studying up for what comes after.
And actually, what's going on now, and this armed militia in hurricane territory is pretty worrying. I don't know if you've been following this.
No.
Those words don't sound good at all.
So the disinformation around the hurricanes meant that there was various FEMA workers yesterday,
yes.
were confronted by an armed militia and were basically called back from FEMA to stop going out there. So it does feel like the beginning of this may have already started.
Oh, for sure. I think it's definitely already started. Yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be a tense time. But yeah, I think long gone, I think, other days, probably for the foreseeable future, where you planned election night parties with results. I say you, I mean like party, like the political party. The idea there'll be a cascade of balloons. And in 2008, remember, Sam, we were on air. It was that early, right? I'm not wrong about that, right? It was like 11:20 or something.
Yeah.
By the time.
Yeah, we were on the air. That's right. And it was so emotional, and it felt that was a balloon drop. Balloon drops are over. The balloon drops now are just filled with sand, and the balloons hurt you. And that's
right. They just land with a sequence of
just wallop you. They just bruise you like a bag of oranges.
I've got so many questions to ask you, but I want to know what your media diet is.
I've got two little kids, so Junior Bake Off, Bluey. We're still watching Bluey. And I mean, and for me, Liverpool. I'd watch Liverpool football games.
Well, where do you get your news from? How much time do you spend? So you said you didn't doom scroll. Sam doom scrolls all the time. But where do you get your information from? What do you trust as an information source?
It's a little different from us than the daily grind of shows, right? Because we're not necessarily in that daily news diet ecosystem. So the beauty of the machine that we have here is that with these longer stories, what we're really relying on is our researchers talking to experts. So to the extent possible, we're trying to get information from the source there, from the people who've written studies or have monitored stories for their entire lives, not necessarily from, this outlet is generally good, because they'll all disappoint you.
I want to recommend an article that I read the other day in The Atlantic about a place called Point Nemo, which is the furthest point on the Earth's surface away from land. And that's where I'm going to go if Trump wins the election. It's in the South Pacific.
Yeah, I was going to get, South Pacific. Okay.
Just get yourself a houseboat. The waves are 70 feet on a good day.
The worst weather in the world, apart from actually where we grew up. It's worse in Britain. It's worse in the north. It's Point Nemo and the north of Britain. Both have terrible weather patterns.
70-foot waves, at least that's dramatic. In Britain, you have like a low cloud that's just kind of pressing down, not on your body, but on your soul. And it's a cold that, again, isn't interesting cold. It's just a damp, wet cold.
You will notice that I haven't mentioned that you got 30 Emmy awards because I don't want you getting big-headed on this show. If you had stayed in the UK, what would you be doing now?
I mean, I didn't come to America like the Beatles, right? I didn't come having achieved success in the UK and then sacrificing it for success in America. I failed my way to the US. I did not have a glittering career in the UK. So I think what the honest truth is, what I've done, I think is what I was doing the whole time, which is just doing an Edinburgh show every year. That was the thing I loved the most.
Edinburgh Fringe show.
Yeah, Edinburgh Fringe. Do the Edinburgh Festival once a year, write a new hour. That was kind of the one regular backdrop to my life before I came here. I would do that every year, see all the comedians I knew up in August. Every year's the best place in the world in August. It's the greatest. So I'd be doing that. And then, I don't know, I worked for a little bit for Radio 4, had some shows cancelled. So I don't know, maybe I'd be working for them. I've no idea.
So interesting. And I love the story that you tell of your first night on the Daily Show when J.K. Rowling was there.
Yeah, it was so confusing. Sam, were you were you on the first night? Was that a move that he would make?
I can't remember. I think so. We would usually do a kind of a group thing to introduce someone, but my memory is so shot. I can't remember
I think I realized after watching the pattern after the fact that a very kind thing he did was made sure that on your first day in the office, you were on that night to kind of stop it becoming too big a thing in your head. So I just got in from Britain. I was jet lagged. It was very, very hot that summer and it was all a blur. And so I remember them saying, you're going to be on tonight. That seemed like a bad idea. I think it was a hugely good idea in hindsight because I was too tired to feel as nervous as I should have done. And then weirdly, J.K. Rowling was in the audience that night. She was just, because I think he was interviewing her at Radio City for a new book. And so she was just sitting, not as a guest. She was just sitting in the audience. And I didn't know until I was walking back off. Then you look at her and think, hold on, this can't be real. Yeah.
What is America all about?
Yes, I know. It was a very, very strange experience.
And weren't you wearing little round glasses at the time?
I was. I don't like the tone of your voice there.
You know, one of the things that nobody knows about when we worked at The Daily Show was that we had to supply our own wardrobe. Okay?
Yes.
Oh, is that true? Okay, that explains a lot.
It was very low, but we were just not, that changed, kind of evolved over time. But the outfits that I wore when I started were, first of all, I came from camp. This interview is not about me, but I came from Canada. They were like, by the way, when you come here, you're going to need to buy a suit. I bought a brown suit. Let's just talk about how ugly.
I think my suit was brown too.
I think both of you were wearing brown suits.
I think it might have been brown.
Yeah, because when we go into our home country and we go, excuse me, suit salesman, I need a suit. They go, you know what you need? Brown. Nothing looks better on camera than tan.
That's right. It doesn't fit anything, but it's not out of place anywhere. It's equally out of place everywhere. I think I had a brown suit too.
Yeah, Jim Margolis used to make fun of me because he was like, if you go too near a light, your suit is going to melt. Can you get a better one?
It was a real point of friction from when it changed and when we finally started. I think we started getting suits from Banana Republic years later. And previous correspondents were absolutely furious that was happening. They couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was a problem because doing field pieces, you're constantly like climbing trees, grabbing onto the bottom of trucks. But you rip through suits, and it's a not insignificant investment. So that's why you go brown. Brown is always the key.
Brown is always the key. I remember Jason.
Cover mud. Yeah.
My husband, Jason going through to a pig farm, and his feet were saturated with just pig feces. He had to throw out his shoes and suit, just saturated. And you were like, that's like $400 more.
Yeah. It was very, very helpful when Banana Republic gave us disposable suits.
Thank God.
But the only reason I mention your small round glasses is that didn't J.K. Rowling say that you reminded her of Harry?
Yes, that was the one thing she said to me. And what was depressing was I had spent basically the years since her book was released doing stand-up, having "Oi, oi, Harry Potter" shouted at me before I got to the mic. So
J.K. Rowling herself.
And then J.K. Rowling basically heckled me in real time saying, yeah, you look like Harry. Went, okay, all right, that doesn't help. And I think I changed my glasses pretty soon after that.
Well, you've had a whole makeover. I mean, your hair has changed since the beginning of last week.
This is wow. You can take Joanna out of Marie Claire.
Jessica Simpson came over and gave you an American makeover. Yeah. This is what happens.
Yeah, she did. I mean, I've watched your hair progress over the years.
This isn't like a regular interview, is it, John Oliver?
She has been at every major chapter point of my hair story, haven't you, John?
I think your hair looks great, but I also love the story.
You said that so fast. I think you lost the place. Anyway.
I also love the story of how you met your wife, who I have such a wonderful recent story of your wife because she is an ambulance. Works in the ambulance world. And I was in the ER with a friend and I'm sitting there and this goddess, because John's wife is surprisingly gorgeous. And when I say surprisingly, she's married to John, I can say that. But she's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sitting there and I've got to organise an ambulance from this ER to the hospital uptown. And this apparition in the most beautiful ambulance uniform, which is all navy with these fabulous heavy boots, comes up and she goes, "Don't worry, I'm going to get you the best ambulance." And I realise it's Kate. And I'm like, even in the ER in New York, you're hustling for who do I know? How can I get the best ambulance? And I found myself saying, is it the best ambulance? Has it got the best equipment? She was like, don't worry, I got you. But describe how you met her, because I love this story.
I do remember her coming back from that shift saying, I saw Joanna, and she said, like her friend, there was something going on, and she said that my boots looked fabulous. I remember looking down at her boots and thinking, I think the word fabulous might mean something different than I think it means.
They're wonderful, heavy, big leather, strong boots.
Yeah, I met her with Sam, actually. We were working at the 08 convention, the two conventions. We were in St. Paul, Minnesota. And so we were running around on a layer of the convention center that we were not allowed to be on. This goes back to the immigration thing. I was very, very worried about I couldn't get arrested, right? I can get thrown out of places, but I can't get arrested on a visa. That's a disaster. So whenever they started calling security, we have to make sure, I would want to make sure that's not the police, right? Because those are two different encounters. As one point, as we're kind of running away, I can't remember who I was with. I think it was Stewart Smills, we called him. I think Kate was in the army. She just got back from Iraq. She was with a veterans group, and she hid us. And she didn't know what the Daily Show was, but she saw people running and hid us. It's the medic MO, right? You see someone running, you want to help them.
That's the cutest way to meet. That is so cute.
To get saved. I don't remember what her boots were that day, Joanna, but I'm guessing they were fabulous.
I think they were fabulous. And she signed up to she signed up to join the army after 9/11, right?
Of 9/11, yeah. Yeah, she signed up 9/12, I think, or close, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember her descriptions of going to the Iraq War and having to rescue people who'd been basically burned. And she has extraordinary stories of being a medic in Iraq.
Yeah, she was in Fallujah, Taji, Baghdad. She was all over the place. Yeah, I still hear every now and then new stories will come out. But yeah, they had a hell of a time there in every possible meaning of the word hell.
This was great. Oh my God, it's so nice to see your face.
You too, mate.
It is really nice. You're doing your Vegas residency at the Beacon. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Tell us about that.
Plus my hair journey is just another. I can shush it up for you.
Yeah, the hair six. I like that. I like it. I think you should do spiky up top. And so you've got a residency at the Beacon.
Yeah, I do it with Seth every month. Seth Meyers. Yeah, we've
okay. So Sam, you and I should go.
We should.
You should totally come. Yeah, we started last summer during the strike when we were both running around desperately trying to do stand-up.
I'm just going to sit in the front row and I'm going to mouth the words Harry Potter. And I hope you feel the love.
You can put right angles on your glasses. They still present as round.
Oh my God. This was so fun.
It was so fun. John, thank you very much.
Did you hit record at the start of this, Joanna, or is this... No.
Now it starts. Now we hit record.
Yeah, that was just warming you up. It was warming you up. John, give my love to Kate. Very good to see you and the boys.
Thanks, mate.
That was so fun. That was so enjoyable.
So enjoyable. I love hearing your stories about working on The Daily Show.
Oh my God, it is so fun to see his face. He works so hard. I can't recall the last time we saw each other socially. It was a really long time ago. So this was a joy.
Well, he's quite hermity, I think.
He is, yeah. He has a really, time-consuming job, and he does a lot of, we did see him at the George Clooney event.
Yes, we did. He was in fact, we should have mentioned that to him. He was the host at the George Clooney event.
He was, yes.
And Jon Stewart was there too.
Yep.
So the two of them, and then you, the three representatives from The Daily Show.
Yep.
And also he's got two little kids. And I feel at that stage in your life, there's work and there's family and there's nothing else.
There's nothing else. There's not much to give to your social life. It kind of ceases to exist for a number of years, and that is okay.
He's so funny. I don't know if you feel this with Canadians, and I know you're married to obviously a Canadian, Jason Jones, who was on The Daily Show too, but there's such a comfort with being with people where you just get the cultural references. I've lived here 27 years, and I still have a level of comfort with British people that I don't quite have with Americans.
That makes total sense. Yes. No, I mean, the minute I locate and we find each other, we will find each other at a huge party. You'll always find the Canadian in the room for me. And then we immediately know exactly, we speak the same language like instantly. It's amazing.
I have an anecdote about a Canadian, which might be, it might just be a good time to surface it, which is
Please
that I'm at a party and I see a friend barreling towards me with a man who I recognize, a youngish man that I recognize. And I think it's her son, because she's asked me to talk to her son, who's in his sort of mid-20s, about journalism. And I've totally failed to do this. So I'm sort of frantically overcompensating when they barrel towards me. And I grab his hand and I say, oh, my goodness, your mum loves you. She speaks so highly of you. It's so good to see you again, excited to talk to you about journalism. And he puts his hand out and he goes, Justin Trudeau. And I was like, that's why I recognize you.
Prime Minister of a whole
But it was
country.
out of context. I wasn't expecting to see the Prime Minister of Canada at that particular party.
Your mom is so proud of you. She speaks so highly of you. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You're a good son. Good son.
Anyway, that's my best Canadian anecdote.
That is amazing. Of course, the Canadian most memorable to you at a party is the literal prime minister, because our prime ministers go to parties that are just like regular parties. They're it's a little low key.
You're the most famous Canadian.
Sometimes you'll be in Ottawa in Canada and you could just like see a prime minister jog by. That's what Canada's like.
We're never going to see Donald Trump jogging.
Oh, he's too busy dancing on a stage to music.
In today's world, customer experience, or CX for short, is being completely revolutionized, and one company is leading the charge, Five9. What they're doing is really interesting. They're integrating AI into customer experiences through phone calls, text, email, chat. It's all getting smarter and more streamlined, which is a win for brands and consumers. Massive companies like PayPal and Walgreens are already using Five9 to enable top-tier customer experiences where typically you might not expect it. Because brands have seen how powerful great customer experiences can be. It leads to higher profits, better customer retention, all types of business outcomes, which is why more brands should be looking to elevate how they engage with customers. So if you want to know how you can elevate your CX game, check out five9.com/beast. I thought John was a very good host of the Clooney Gala. Clooney event where George Clooney came over to you and said he knew you had a podcast.
Oh, he said podcast.
How did he know that you had a podcast?
Because you are shameless. Joanna calls.
Totally shameless. John also hosted the Comic Relief Gala last year, which was very good. And this year I am chairing the Comic Relief Gala, which actually is a little terrifying because I've got to round up people to buy tickets for it. But this year we're doing a show. It's not a classic gala. It's actually a comedy show. And if you're interested in coming, you're very welcome. All the money goes to help children in poverty at Comic Relief. And if you go to comicrelief.org, you can find details about it to buy tickets. It's on December the 9th. And we've structured it like a Mar-a-Lago fundraiser. There are expensive seats where you get a round table, a little candlelight. But you can also join us for a little less than the full table. You can join us for, I think the cheapest ticket is, well, I can't remember. Go to comicrelief.org.
Can you sit under the table?
You can, you can sit
A
under
lower
the
cost ticket.
You can lie on the floor.
Okay.
And you can be stood on, actually.
Oh, great.
If you've been listening to the first few episodes of this podcast, you've probably heard us talk about Five9, the revolutionary customer experience platform that is redefining how customers interact with brands. Everyone wants to be treated well and have a great customer experience, and in today's world, that is a huge competitive advantage. But most companies see it as just checking a box. They're missing out on incredible brand building and revenue generating opportunities that are everywhere across businesses. All of those consumer touch points that you don't think of, those are moments your brand can use to create an advantage. Five9's intelligent AI-driven platform lets you make all those moments better and totally seamless. So if you want to build a powerful brand that people love, check out five9.com/beast. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend or a colleague that you want to argue with.
Yes, and if you're doing that, why not share it with your neighbor who has booby-trapped their Trump sign?
Tag us on your favourite social media platforms and tell us what you think, and we'll be back next Thursday with another episode of the Daily Beast podcast.
And as my muse once said, be best.
Be beast.
Yes, of course. Yes, yes.